Hello. After we argued, my fiancé texted me. I'm staying at my ex's place tonight. Deal with it. So I did. The next morning, I watched her completely lose it. My name is Bruce, I am 34, and I work as a procurement manager for a hotel group in Manchester. My job is structured, heavy on deadlines, and I am usually up before 6 because suppliers start calling early. My fiancée is Rachel, 31. We had been together for almost 4 years, engaged for 8 months, and living together in a flat I leased in Castlefield. We split bills unevenly because I earned more, but I covered the rent and utilities while she handled groceries and most of the decorating decisions. I am posting because what happened after our last argument was strange enough that even now I am not sure whether I handled it correctly or just efficiently. Rachel had a talent for escalating things fast. Not every disagreement, but enough of them that I had started noticing a pattern. If something did not go her way, she stopped arguing about the issue itself and switched to making the situation ugly. Sharp comments, cheap shots, dragging in unrelated things, then acting like I was cold for refusing to keep going. That night it started over something stupid on paper and not stupid at all underneath. We were supposed to finalize a deposit for a wedding venue that weekend. I had already told her twice I wanted to review the contract before sending anything, because there were penalty clauses for date changes. She said I was treating a wedding like a procurement bid. I said a contract is still a contract even if flowers are involved. That was enough to set her off. She accused me of stalling because I was secretly unsure about marrying her. I said that was not true and asked her to stay on topic. Then she moved to personal attacks, said I made every happy thing feel like admin, said living with me felt like being managed by middle management. I told her if she wanted a real conversation, fine, but I was not going to sit there while she tried to win by being nasty. That was when she grabbed her coat, stood by the door, and said she needed space. I said take the evening, cool off, we can talk tomorrow. About 10 minutes later my phone lit up. I am staying at my ex's place tonight. Deal with it. Not a bluffing kind of message. Not vague. Not sent to provoke ambiguity. It was designed to land exactly the way it landed. I read it twice, then once more, mostly because I wanted to be certain I was not filling in extra meaning that was not there. I did not call her. I did not argue over text. I just looked around our flat, thought about the fact that she had chosen that name very deliberately, and decided if she wanted me to deal with it, I would. By midnight, I was no longer waiting for her to come back. I was making a list. I did exactly what Rachel told me to do. I dealt with it. Not emotionally. Logistically. I slept fine that night because once someone crosses a certain line, the decision stops being complicated. Rachel knew exactly what she was doing when she sent that message. It was not about needing space. It was about landing a hit. Saying she was staying with her ex was meant to provoke panic or jealousy or begging. Instead, it gave me clarity. I woke up at 6 like usual, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, and started going through the list I made the night before. The first thing was the wedding venue. We had been talking with them for about 3 weeks, and Rachel had been pushing hard to lock it down quickly. They needed the deposit by Monday to secure the date. I opened the email chain, reread the contract once more, and then wrote a short response. I explained that we would not be moving forward with the booking and thanked them for their time. No drama. No explanation. Just a cancellation before any money left my account. After that, I emailed the photographer we had been discussing. Same message. We would not be proceeding. Then the florist inquiry Rachel had sent from my email. I closed that as well. By the time I finished my second cup of coffee, the entire wedding planning process had been quietly shut down. No deposits. No future obligations. No vendors expecting payments. The next step was the ring. The engagement ring had been purchased from a jeweler in the city center. Their receipt mentioned a 30-day return window for a large percentage refund if the ring came back in original condition. We were still inside that window. I placed the ring box on the kitchen counter and looked at it for a minute. Not because I was hesitating, mostly because it felt strange how calm I was about the whole thing. For years together, and the end of it was triggered by a single text message. But that text said everything I needed to know about how Rachel handled conflict. Threats, escalation, maximum damage. That kind of behavior does not disappear after marriage. It multiplies. Around 8:30, I left the flat with the ring in my jacket pocket and drove into the city. The jeweler opened at 9. By the time Rachel woke up wherever she had spent the night, the wedding she had been arguing about was already canceled. And she had absolutely no idea yet. The jeweler opened right on time at 9. I was the first customer through the door. The woman behind the counter recognized me almost immediately. Not surprising since I had spent nearly an hour there a few weeks earlier choosing the ring. She smiled and asked how the proposal went. I told her it had not worked out and placed the ring box on the counter. She did not ask personal questions after that. Just checked the receipt, inspected the ring, and confirmed the refund amount. Most of the money would go back to my card within 3 to 5 business days. The whole interaction took maybe 10 minutes. When I stepped back outside into the morning air, something felt noticeably lighter. Not happy exactly, just resolved. One less loose end. I drove straight to work after that. Fridays are usually busy for me because suppliers like to confirm deliveries before the weekend, so my morning filled up quickly with calls and emails. For a few hours I barely thought about Rachel at all. Around 11:30 my phone buzzed. Rachel. I let it ring. Then another call 30 seconds later. Then a text. Are you seriously ignoring me right now? I finished the email I was writing before I looked at the message again. Nothing about it sounded like someone apologizing for the message she sent the night before. It sounded irritated, like I was the one creating a problem. A few minutes later another text came through. I hope you enjoyed your quiet night, because I did not sleep well at all. Still nothing about the ex. Nothing about the message. Just annoyance. I finally replied with something simple. Morning. I am at work. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Good. Because we need to talk about your attitude last night. I read that line twice and leaned back in my chair. Rachel had spent the night at her ex-boyfriend's place after announcing it like a weapon, and somehow the next morning conversation she wanted to have was about my attitude. That told me 2 things very clearly. First, she still thought she controlled the direction of this situation. Second, she had absolutely no idea what I had already done. Her next message came in while I was still looking at the phone. Also, I will come home later, so do not start acting weird when I get there. I put the phone face down on my desk and went back to work. Because when Rachel walked through the door that evening, the first thing she was going to notice was that something in the flat was missing. And it was not subtle. I got home around 6 that evening. Rachel still was not there. That was not surprising. When she got into one of her moods, she liked to make entrances. Staying out late after an argument was part of the performance. It created tension so she could walk in and restart the fight on her terms. Normally, I would have spent that time waiting. This time I used it differently. Earlier that afternoon, I had stopped by a hardware store near my office and bought a stack of medium moving boxes and packing tape. Nothing dramatic. Just the kind people use when they are relocating. When I got home, I started packing Rachel's things. Not everything. Just the items that were clearly hers. Her clothes from the hallway wardrobe went first. Dresses, jackets, shoes. I folded them carefully and stacked them in 2 boxes. After that, I packed the bathroom shelf she used. Makeup bags, hair products, skincare bottles, all wrapped in paper so nothing leaked. The process was slow and methodical. No anger, no rushing, just sorting. By the time I finished the bedroom drawers, 4 boxes were sealed and lined neatly against the living room wall. I left the engagement photo off the shelf as well. That frame went into the last box. Around 7:15, I heard keys in the door. Rachel walked in carrying her overnight bag and immediately started talking before she even took off her coat. You would not believe the traffic this morning, and I had to stop by work because apparently people cannot survive one day without me fixing their mess. Then she looked up. The first thing she noticed was the boxes. 4 of them stacked beside the couch. Rachel stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes moved from the boxes to me. Bruce, what is this? I closed my laptop slowly and stood up from the table. Your things. She stared at the boxes again like her brain needed a second to process what she was seeing. Why are my clothes in boxes? Because you said you were staying at your ex's place. The room went completely quiet. Rachel's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. Bruce, stop being dramatic and tell me what you are doing. I leaned against the counter. I canceled the wedding plans this morning and started packing your stuff this afternoon. The words seemed to hit her a second later. Her face tightened instantly. You did what? The calm part was already over. Now she was starting to understand that this situation was not going the way she expected. Rachel stared at me for a few seconds like she was waiting for me to laugh and admit it was some kind of overreaction. When that did not happen, something in her snapped. Are you serious right now? Her voice jumped an octave immediately. You packed my things. I nodded once. You said you were staying at your ex's place. Rachel dropped her overnight bag on the floor with a loud thud. Oh my God, Bruce, you cannot be this petty. She walked straight to the boxes and ripped the tape off the top one like she expected to prove something. clothes were folded inside exactly the way I packed them. Her hands froze for a second. Then she spun around toward me. You actually did this. You actually packed my stuff like I am being kicked out. You told me you were staying somewhere else. That is not the same thing, and you know it. Rachel was pacing now, fast tight circles through the living room. Her voice kept climbing with every sentence. I left for one night because you were being impossible, and you respond by canceling the wedding and boxing up my life. Who does that? Someone who takes you seriously when you say you are staying with your ex. That sentence landed like gasoline on a fire. Rachel's face turned bright red. You cannot just cancel a wedding because you are having a tantrum. I did not cancel a wedding. I canceled a deposit. She threw her hands in the air. Oh my God, listen to yourself. She pointed at the boxes like they were evidence in a courtroom. This is insane. This is actually insane behavior. Her breathing was sharp now. Quick bursts of air between sentences. I went to Henry's place to cool off. That is what adults do when their partner is acting like a robot. I watched her carefully. You did not say you were cooling off. Rachel stopped pacing. I held up my phone. You said you were staying at your ex's place and told me to deal with it. For a moment, she looked like she might argue the wording. Then she exploded. Because you were supposed to react. Her voice cracked across the room. You were supposed to call me. Or get mad. Or do something. Instead, you packed my stuff like I am a tenant being evicted. She kicked one of the boxes lightly in frustration. You have completely lost your mind, Bruce. I shook my head slowly. No. For the first time all evening, I was completely sure I had not. Rachel kept pacing across the living room like she was trying to burn the anger out through movement. This is unbelievable. For years together, and you are throwing everything away because I spent one night somewhere else. You did not say somewhere else. I kept my voice even. You said your ex. Rachel rolled her eyes hard. Oh my God, Bruce, stop repeating that like it matters. It matters. Nothing happened. That is not the point. Of course it is the point. Her voice shot up again. You are acting like I cheated on you when I literally slept on a couch. You made sure to tell me whose couch it was. Rachel opened her mouth, paused, then shifted direction the way she always did when a point stopped working. Fine. We are both angry. Clearly this has gotten out of hand. She waved toward the boxes. So unpack my things and stop being ridiculous. No. The word landed flat and heavy in the room. Rachel blinked slowly. What do you mean no? I mean you should take your things tonight. Her expression changed instantly. Bruce, stop. You are not thinking clearly. I am. You cannot just throw your fiancé out because of one argument. I did not throw you out. You already said you were staying somewhere else. Rachel laughed sharply. So what now? You expect me to move in with my ex. That is not my decision. Her temper snapped right back. This is insane. You are insane. She pointed toward the boxes again. You canceled the wedding. You packed my life into boxes. Over one stupid fight. It was not the fight. It was the message. Rachel shook her head like she was trying to physically reject the idea. You are blowing this up on purpose. Tomorrow you are going to feel like an idiot. I walked to the door and opened it. Take the boxes. Rachel stared at the open doorway, then back at me. You are not serious. I picked up one of the boxes and set it outside in the hallway. Bruce, stop. I picked up the second one and placed it beside the first. Her voice started climbing again. You cannot do this. The third box went out. Rachel stepped forward like she might try to stop me, but then froze. The fourth box followed. I stepped back inside and held the door open. You should go. For a moment, she just stood there breathing hard. Then the shouting started again. You have completely lost your mind. Her voice echoed down the hallway as she grabbed the first box. This is insane. Do you hear yourself? I stepped forward, guided her out into the corridor, and closed the door behind her. Rachel immediately started yelling from the other side. Bruce, open this door right now. I locked it. And based on the volume of the shouting that followed, Rachel was only just getting started. Rachel started pounding on the door almost immediately after I closed it. Not knocking. Full force hitting the door with the side of her hand. Bruce, open the door right now. I did not respond. The pounding came again, louder. Bruce, I am serious. Open this door. I stood in the hallway for a moment listening. Her voice was bouncing off the walls of the corridor now. You cannot just kick me out like this. More pounding. This is my home too. I walked into the living room and sat down on the couch. The yelling continued through the door. Bruce, if you do not open this door right now, I swear to God. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls already. Then another. Then another. Rachel had switched from yelling through the door to calling. Her voice came through the hallway again. Pick up your phone. The phone buzzed again in my hand. Call number 6. Then a message appeared. You are acting insane right now. Another call. Another message. Open the door so we can talk like adults. I watched the screen light up over and over. Call number 9. Rachel's voice outside the door kept rising and falling between anger and panic. You cannot just ignore me. I opened the message thread and read through the text quickly. The tone was exactly what I expected. First anger, then accusations, then attempts to drag the conversation back into another argument. I had no interest in repeating the same fight through a door or through a phone. Another call came through. That made 12. So I opened the contact settings and blocked her number. The phone went quiet instantly, for about 10 seconds. Then the banging on the door started again. Bruce, I know you are ignoring me. Her voice was sharper now. You think blocking me fixes this? I did not move. A minute later, my phone buzzed again. Different number. Rachel. I blocked that one too. Then the messages started coming through social media. First on Instagram, then on Facebook. Each one more frantic than the last. I blocked those as well. Within a few minutes, the phone finally went silent again. Outside the door, Rachel was still yelling. But now she was yelling at a door that was not opening and a phone that was not responding. And judging by how loud she was getting, she was only just beginning to realize that I meant it. Rachel kept yelling outside the door for another 5 minutes. At first, it was pure anger. You think blocking me makes you right. Then it shifted into threats. You better open this door before I call someone. I stayed on the couch and waited. People like Rachel usually run through a predictable cycle when they realize they are losing control of a situation. First rage, then pressure, then trying to drag in outside witnesses. Right on schedule, her voice changed again. Fine. I am calling people. I could hear her pacing in the hallway now, shoes dragging slightly on the carpet. Let us see how your friends react when they hear what you just did. I checked my phone again out of curiosity. Blocked calls were already stacking in the log. She had clearly tried several more times. A few seconds later, my email notification chimed. Then another. Rachel had moved on to the next channel. The first email was short and angry, accusing me of humiliating her and acting unstable. The second one was longer and much more dramatic. Lots of words about betrayal, cruelty, and throwing away for years. I did not respond. Instead, I archived both messages and muted the thread. Outside in the hallway, her voice was getting louder again. Bruce, I swear if you do not open this door. Another knock. Then another. Then silence for a moment. I heard the elevator down the hall open. Rachel's voice came back one more time, sharper and more frantic. You are going to regret this. The elevator doors closed. And just like that, the hallway went quiet. I stood up and walked to the door, looking through the peephole. Empty. The boxes were gone. Rachel had finally left. The apartment suddenly felt bigger without the noise. I walked back into the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and checked my phone one more time. There was already a new message waiting. Not from Rachel. From her friend Melissa. It was one sentence long. What exactly did you do to Rachel tonight? The message from Melissa sat on my phone screen for a minute before I opened it. What exactly did you do to Rachel tonight? I leaned back in the kitchen chair and thought about how much effort I wanted to spend explaining something that had already happened. Melissa was one of Rachel's closest friends. The kind of friend who usually only heard Rachel's version of events, which meant the story she just received probably sounded very different from reality. My phone buzzed again before I even started typing. Another message from Melissa. She says you canceled the wedding, packed her things, and threw her out of the apartment. Technically, that summary was not wrong. It was just missing the part that made the entire situation make sense. I typed a short response. Rachel told me she was staying at her ex-boyfriend's place last night and told me to deal with it. So I did. I hit send and set the phone down. A few minutes passed. Then it buzzed again. Melissa, wait, she actually told you that? Yes. Another pause. Then another message. She told me you overreacted to an argument. I typed one more response. Arguments do not involve announcing you are sleeping at your ex's place. This time the reply took longer. Almost 10 minutes. When it came through, the tone had changed. She did not tell me that part. That was not surprising. Rachel had always been good at editing stories, so she looked like the reasonable one. Another message followed. She is at Henry's apartment right now, and she is losing it. I stared at the screen for a second. Henry, the ex she had decided to use as leverage the night before. Melissa sent one more message. She thought you would panic or beg her to come home. That part actually made me laugh quietly. Instead, you canceled the wedding. Yes. The typing indicator appeared on Melissa's side again, then disappeared, then came back. Finally, another message arrived. She really did not expect that. I picked up my glass of water again and looked around the apartment. Neither did I. But the more distance I had from the situation, the clearer one thing became. Rachel had tried to create a reaction. What she got instead was a consequence. And based on what Melissa had just told me, Rachel was only starting to realize how badly that plan had backfired. Melissa and I exchanged a few more messages that evening, but the conversation slowed down quickly. She asked one more question. Are you two done for real? I looked around the apartment before answering. Rachel's shoes were gone from the hallway rack. Her makeup shelf in the bathroom was empty. The closet space she used was cleared out. The place already looked different. Yes. Melissa sent one final reply. She is still freaking out over here. I did not respond after that. There was nothing useful to add. Around 10 that night my phone buzzed once more. This time it was an unknown number. I already knew who it was before opening the message. Rachel. Her style of texting had changed completely from earlier. No more insults. No more yelling. Now it was long paragraphs. She said I overreacted. She said she only went to Henry's place because she needed space after the argument. She said she never expected things to go this far. There was also a line about how humiliating the situation felt for her. I read the message once. Then I blocked that number too. Not because I was angry, just because the conversation was already finished. Rachel had made a very specific decision when she sent that message the night before. She tried to force a reaction by bringing another man into the situation. It was meant to provoke panic. Instead, it ended the relationship. The next morning, I returned the last of the wedding-related items that were still refundable. After that, I emailed the landlord and confirmed that only my name would remain on the lease. Life went back to a quiet routine surprisingly fast. Work, gym, home. Every once in a while I heard updates through mutual friends. Apparently Rachel spent a few weeks telling people I ruined our relationship over nothing. Then the full story started circulating, and the reactions changed. Looking back now, the strange part is not how quickly the relationship ended. The strange part is how clear the decision felt once she sent that message. Some actions are arguments. Others are announcements. Rachel thought she was starting a fight. What she actually did was end the engagement. Bye-bye.